I'm a portrait and fine art photographer. I have been doing photography for about 10 years, and I've been doing black and white photography for about the same time, but a bit less than color. It's just my personal preference. Yeah, so in this video we'll talk about black and white photography, which is very important, and it's really important for learning overall. I will explain later, but yeah, also because black and white photography has been with us since photography was invented. And all the time there were a lot of very strong photographs in terms of composition and contrast made in black and white, which I adore, but personally I actually do more of color photography because I usually feel like I want to show the vibrancy of life through the colors too, and usually there is a lot of ways to show the mood. And with black and white, usually focus solely on the light, on the composition, on the contrast, and that's why actually it's important to learn, because for example when you go to an art school you start actually to learn how to paint from drawing. You actually take a pencil and you do sketches. I've been to an art school too, and what they offered us to do, to take a notebook when you go somewhere in the metro, in public transport, you just sit down and draw something, maybe some sketches of different people in the same bus or train car, anything. And that was before learning painting and during the process of learning painting, because drawing is actually black and white. And because when you draw something, you learn how to see the values and how to see the composition, which are the most important. So on the other hand, with painting, you have to also understand the complexity of color and the values of the colors. For example, I'm wearing this vibrant blue shirt, and it's interesting that in black and white it will look completely differently, because our eyes perceive colors in such a way that we have basically three cones, and they trigger for, let's say, orange color a lot better than for blue. So there should be a lot more of blue light reflected from a surface for you to see it as bright. So it's quite complex, and actually to start understanding better composition and values, it's better to omit the colors at all and actually look at your shots in black and white. If you have like a setting in your camera that you can set up black and white, so you could see on all of the previews everywhere everything in black and white, that's a good choice to do, because that helps you to actually literally focus only on the composition. So let's say you take a picture on the street and there is a guy like walking in bright red jacket and he gets in the frame. So all of the attention goes to him because of the vibrancy of his jacket. And basically, if you shoot in black and white, you don't need to focus on that, because the camera will represent approximately the colors that are the values of the colors that are there, but it will not distract you from actually the pleasant experience of you shooting on the streets. And you may very soon start to get better images, but in black and white. So why I'm telling this, because sometimes people are afraid of actually losing some colors in their pictures, and when I say, hey, start taking only black and white pictures for the next few months at least, maybe for half a year or maybe for an entire year, and then people start to say, oh, I don't know, I want to have some color pictures. And then yes, you won't have colors, but believe me, you will get a lot better. You will start seeing compositions, you will start seeing light. That's really important for you to understand, that when you photograph something, you photograph light. So actually it's actually seems to be easy to understand, but it's hard to start applying it when you take pictures, because when you take a picture of the building, you think of that as you take a picture of the building and not of the light reflected of the building. And when you start to focus on the lighting, you actually get better at photography overall, and quite quickly. So if you start to use only black and white mode in your camera, or convert all the pictures in black and white, thinking beforehand, before you take a picture, you need to think how it will look like in black and white. So that way you'll push yourself into this way of thinking when you solely focus on the shadows and on the highlights. And then it will help you a lot to master photography in no time. One more thing that I want to mention is that in black and white, yes, it's a super stylized genre, and sometimes you can overexpose highlights and it will still look quite nice because it's black and white. It shouldn't look like in the real life, right? But usually it's better to keep your highlights quite bright but not overexposed, and at the same time you can underexpose your shadows a lot. Like for example, you know these pictures like low-key photographs, they are very popular, you can find them everywhere. Then the shadows are pitch black and you cannot see them at all. And there is some object in the dark. Usually it's, for me personally, I think that low-key photography can be a bit more complex. It shouldn't be like just one subject on a huge black background, because then it feels like kind of simple. You have one layer is your subject, second layer is the background, that's it. But you can start to search for the scenes out there on the streets where you can actually apply, like where you can do low-key photography, including a bit more elements on your composition, and then it will be fun. Yeah, you'll just have a great time. And after you do that, let's say commit at first for 3 months, and after you do all of that, after you take pictures every week, maybe twice a week, but yeah, you need to be consistent because otherwise it will not work. And then you can either continue or you can switch to color and still try to apply the same compositional ideas as you applied in black and white. But then you'll have to start to take a note on different colors that you have around yourself. Because while doing black and white photography for quite a while, I can literally forget about focusing on the colors, and I can ignore some vibrant colors on the sides of my frame for a bit because I didn't think of them for such a long time. And yeah, since you already know a bit better about composition after practicing black and white photography, you can start focusing on colors too. And thank you very much for watching. Wish you all the best in your photography journey. And yeah, see you in the next video.